Here is a question worth sitting with. Why does practically every civilization that has ever existed have a story about the world ending? Every mythology on Earth eventually gets around to it. The sky falls, the seas rise, fire comes down from above, the stars go dark, everything stops. And the stories show up everywhere. Ancient Mesopotamia, the American Southwest, Scandinavia, India, Mesoamerica, cultures with no shared language, no trade routes, no knowledge of each other's existence, all arriving at the same unsettling conclusion. This has happened before, and it will happen again. Today, we are looking at 5 of those traditions. 5 different endings from 5 corners of the ancient world. And the details, as always, are where it gets interesting. Number 1. The Flood of Utnapishtim, Mesopotamian Mythology. We start in ancient Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, roughly 5,000 years ago, with what is currently the oldest written apocalypse narrative ever discovered. It predates every other flood story we have in written form, and it begins, somewhat awkwardly for the gods involved, with a noise complaint. The great gods of the Mesopotamian pantheon, Anu, Enlil, and the rest, decided humanity had become too numerous and too loud. Their rest was being disturbed. The solution they landed on was the complete annihilation of the human race, which does suggest their conflict resolution toolkit was somewhat limited. The god Aa, wiser than his colleagues, and apparently uncomfortable with total genocide as a response to a noise problem, found a loophole. He had sworn an oath not to reveal the god's plan to any human, so he did not tell anyone. Instead, he stood outside the wall of a man named Utnapishtim's house and spoke to the reeds growing there. He told the reeds exactly what was coming and exactly what needed to be done. Utnapishtim, standing on the other side of the wall, heard every word. "Build a boat," said the reeds. "Make it large. Bring your family, your craftsmen, the seeds of all living things." Utnapishtim built it. The flood came. The ancient text describes 6 days and 6 nights of storm, so total that even the gods were terrified by what they had set in motion. The goddess Ishtar wept openly. The other gods, and this detail has survived 4,000 years specifically because it is perfect, cowered against the walls of heaven like dogs. When the waters finally receded, the boat grounded on a mountain. Utnapishtim sent out a dove, then a swallow, then a raven. The raven did not return. There was land. They had survived. The god Enlil, who had pushed hardest for the flood, arrived and was furious to find anyone still alive. A divine argument broke out. Ea pointed out with some precision that perhaps destroying every human being because they were loud had been an overreaction. Enlil, chastened, granted Utnapishtim and his wife immortality and placed them at the mouth of the rivers at the edge of the world. The world was repopulated. Civilization restarted. The gods agreed to communicate their grievances differently going forward, though the ancient texts do not specify how. What makes this story different from the flood myths that followed it is the absence of moral judgment. Humanity in this story was wiped out because they were inconvenient. Who lived was determined by which wall Ea chose to stand near. Survival here is a matter of proximity, not righteousness. That is either a profoundly honest statement about how catastrophe works or a deeply uncomfortable one. Number 2. The Hopi Four Worlds Native American Tradition. The Hopi people of northeastern Arizona have inhabited the same high desert mesas for over 1,000 years, and their mythological tradition contains one of the most striking cosmological frameworks in the world for one specific reason. The world has already ended 3 times, and we are living in what comes after. In Hopi cosmology, existence moves through successive worlds, each destroyed when its people abandoned their sacred responsibilities and chose corruption over balance. Each destruction arrived differently. Each survival was narrow. The first world was destroyed by fire. Volcanic catastrophe, some traditions say, Though the underlying cause across all versions is consistent, the people had forgotten their relationship to each other and to creation. Those who remained in right relationship were taken underground by the ant people, beings who sheltered the survivors in their tunnels and shared their food stores, tightening their own belts in the process. The Hopi say this is why ants have narrow waists. When the fire above burned out, the survivors emerged into the second world. The second world was destroyed by ice. The earth shifted on its axis. The poles moved. Everything froze. Again the faithful went underground. Again they emerged into what came next. The third world was the most developed of the three. Cities, technologies, complex societies. Also warfare, sorcery, and a thorough disregard for the instructions given at the beginning. This world ended in flood. Spider-Woman, a divine grandmother figure of deep importance in Hopi tradition, sealed the survivors inside hollow reeds and floated them across the rising waters to dry ground. Then they climbed into the fourth world, ours. The Hopi do not frame this as a happy ending. Their prophetic tradition describes the signs of the fourth world's approaching end with considerable specificity. A gourd of ashes falling from the sky, roads in the sky, rivers of stone. Hopi elders in the 1940s identified these as the atomic bomb, aircraft, and highways respectively. The Hopi word for this condition is koeniskotsi. It means life out of balance. They had a word for it because they had watched it happen before. What follows the fourth world, according to the tradition, is a fifth world. For those who maintain the original instructions, the cycle continues. The earth breathes. The question the tradition keeps asking is simply, where do you stand when the next breath comes? Number 3. Ragnarok, Norse mythology. Most apocalypse traditions offer at least some comfort. The right people survive. The right forces win. Order reasserts itself, and the world that follows is better than the one that burned. Ragnarok, in its original telling, does not work that way. The Norse apocalypse is unique among world mythologies for one quality above all others. The gods know it is coming. They have known since before it began. Odin has spent his entire mythological career preparing for it, filling Valhalla with warriors, sacrificing his eye for wisdom, hanging himself on Yggdrasil to receive the runes. He knows, with complete certainty, that it will not be enough. It begins with the Fimbul winter, 3 consecutive winters with no summer between them. Crops fail, animals die. Then the social order goes with the food supply. Wars break out everywhere. Brothers kill brothers. The fabric of civilization unravels in the cold. Then the chains break. Fenrir, the great wolf, peers free. Jormungandr, the world serpent large enough to encircle the entire earth, rises from the ocean. Loki, imprisoned since Baldur's death, escapes and leads the forces against the gods. The fire giant Surtur marches from Muspelheim, carrying a sword that burns brighter than the sun. The wolf Skoll swallows the sun. His brother Hati swallows the moon. The stars fall from the sky. The battle is total. Odin is swallowed by Fenrir. Thor kills Jormungandr and falls dead from the venom. Freyr falls to Surtur. Heimdall and Loki kill each other simultaneously. Surtur sweeps his blade across everything and the world burns, and then it sinks beneath the sea. And then, in the Eddas at least, something surfaces. 2 humans, Leif and Lithracer, meaning life and striving after life, survive in a forest called Hodmimir's Wood, untouched by the fire. When the sea recedes, they walk out into a green world. Some of the gods return. A new sun rises, daughter of the previous one. Whether that rebirth was always part of the story or arrived later under Christian influence is genuinely debated among scholars. Some argue the original Norse vision ended in total darkness. No dawn, no survivors. Just the gods fighting with everything they had against an end they always knew was coming, because fighting was the only response that meant anything. That version, if it is the true one, is possibly the most honest cosmology ever constructed, and the most human. Number 4. The Aztec Five Suns Mesoamerican Mythology. The Aztec tradition does not just say the world has ended before. It specifies exactly how each ending happened. 4 complete destructions, each by a different method, each leading a different kind of survivor, each leading to the current world, which the tradition calls the fifth sun, and which it describes as running entirely on borrowed time and divine sacrifice. The first world, the son of Jaguar, was ruled by Tezcatlipoca and populated by giants. It ended when Quetzalcoatl knocked Tezcatlipoca from the sky. Tezcatlipoca, landing in fury, called down the jaguar powers of the earth, and everything was devoured. The second world, the son of wind, ruled by Quetzalcoatl, ended when Tezcatlipoca returned the favor. The resulting divine collapse brought hurricane winds that scattered the people of that age and transformed them into monkeys. The third world, the son of rain, ended in fire. The rain god Tlaloc, grief-stricken after Tezcatlipoca stole his wife, could only weep while his people prayed for water during a devastating drought. When he finally responded, he rained down burning stones instead. The fourth world, the son of water, ended in flood. Its goddess, Xalquiutlic, was told by Tezcatlipoca that her love for humanity came from selfishness. The accusation broke her so completely that she wept tears of blood for 52 years, and the weeping became the flood. Then came the fifth sun, created at Teotihuacan when the gods needed a new sun, and a humble, disease-covered deity named Nanahuatzin threw himself into the sacred fire without hesitation. He became the sun. Another god, more reluctant and proud, became the moon. But the sun sat still in the sky, burning and motionless. Without movement, there could be no life. So the remaining gods sacrificed themselves to set it in motion. The sun moves because gods died to make it move. It keeps moving because people continue to nourish it. This is the cosmological foundation behind Aztec ritual sacrifice. The universe operates on a debt. The gods paid it first. The people inherited the obligation. Everything, the temples, the calendar, the ceremonial wars fought to take captives for sacrifice, was oriented around keeping the world alive one more day. In the Aztec understanding, they were holding the sky up with their bare hands, and they knew it. Number 5. The Pralaya, Hindu mythology. We end with a perspective so vast that every other entry on this list shrinks to the size of a local weather event. Hindu cosmological tradition, drawn from the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Mahabharata, describes the universe as something that breathes. It was not created once. It was exhaled. And when the exhalation ends, it will be inhaled and exhaled again, in a cycle that has no beginning anyone can point to, and no end anyone can calculate. The central unit of cosmic time is the kalpa, one day in the life of Brahma, the creator deity. One kalpa lasts 4.32 billion years. The current scientific estimate for the age of the Earth is approximately 4.5 billion years. Brahma's day and the age of our planet are roughly the same length. Let that sit for a moment. At the end of each kalpa, a pralaya occurs. The sun intensifies until it dries the oceans and burns the 3 worlds to ash. Enormous clouds gather, and it rains for hundreds of years, flooding everything the fire left standing. Then the universe is reabsorbed into the sleeping body of Vishnu, floating on the primordial waters, and Brahma rests. That rest lasts another 4.32 billion years. Then Brahma wakes. From the lotus growing from Vishnu's navel, he emerges. The universe begins again. This is the ordinary pralaya, the nightly reset. A larger dissolution, the Mahapralaya, occurs at the end of Brahma's entire lifetime, 100 divine years of 365 kalpas each. At that point, the dissolution is total and absolute, every layer of reality reabsorbed into the ground of being. Then, after an equal period of complete non-existence, a new Brahma emerges and the cycle resumes. By traditional reckoning, Brahma is currently 51 years old. We are approximately at the midpoint of this Brahma's life, which sounds reassuring until you work out that the second half of his life is still measured in the hundreds of trillions of years. What sets this tradition apart from every other entry today is its complete serenity about all of it. There is no villain in this apocalypse, no divine temper, no moral test, no accumulated human failure. The universe ends because that is what universes do, the same way a breath ends. The texts compare individual human death and rebirth to the death and rebirth of the cosmos, and treat both as the same kind of event, different only in scale. In this tradition, the question is where you are in the cycle, and what you are doing with the moment you have been given inside it. So there are your 5 endings. An apocalypse triggered by a noise complaint. 3 destructions already behind us, with the 4th approaching. A battle the gods knew they would lose and fought anyway. A world held in motion by continuous sacrifice. And a universe breathing in and out across timescales that dissolve the very concept of catastrophe. Every one of these traditions looked at the question of how the world ends and arrived at the same addendum. And then, somehow, there was more. Maybe that was always the point. Every mythology that built an ending also built what came after it. The flood recedes. The green world rises from the sea. The new sun climbs into an empty sky. The next Brahma stirs in the void. The world ends. The story continues. That is a very human thing to insist on. If you made it this far and enjoyed this video, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel. If you have a topic you would like to see covered, please let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.